Hey, Cavs fans, it's Spencer German, Spencer Davies with you live from Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse where the Cavaliers take game one of their first round playoff series with the Orlando Magic. 97-83, the final score. Jared Allen joked about it being a very grind of a game. First to 85, maybe was going to win. And Orlando didn't even get to 85, so the Cavaliers able to take care of business. Before we get started, though, I have a trivia question for you, Spencer.
Oh, man. You're going to put me on the spot already.
This is easy because Cavs Notes tweeted it out. If you saw the same tweet I did, you might know. Donovan Mitchell joined a list tonight with players who have at least 40 playoff games, highest points per game average. He has 27.5 or something around there is what it was. Who are the other six players that he's behind?
Six players? Oh,
some of them are easy. Some of them are easy.
You got it.
MJ's one.
Yeah, LeBron's got to be the
LeBron's
other.
on there.
And then you. Oh, God. Good. Just
All right, the rest of the list is Devin Booker. Yeah, KD. Devin Booker, LeBron, Jerry West, KD, AI, and Michael Jordan is number one.
Wow.
That's a pretty good company. And Donovan obviously had a great game, 30 points tonight. Mm-hmm. I think the reason I asked you that trivia question, why I wanted to start there, was because I think one of the biggest takeaways from really pregame on, and we were standing there sort of watching him warm up, was just how good he looked. He looked very, very spry. I don't know. He kind of told us he was 100% the other day, and I don't know if any of us really believed him. I think it's kind of one of those poker face things, but he looked as close to 100%, I think, as he has in a really, really long time, which is obviously great news for the Cavs.
Yeah, and it makes me look good because that's what I told you yesterday, right? I said that's probably the closest he's going to be to 100%. But no, I mean, what he does usually in his pregame routine is he shoots all around the floor. Then he goes to the free throw line and then completes it with a dunk. The last few weeks, he hasn't been doing that. He used the net to help him get up and dunk against the Pacers. I remember that last Friday. Today, he was able to go over there and flush one down with two hands. And then obviously, what you saw in the game on the fast break opportunity, comes from the left side and throws down an absolute nasty jam with his right. And he looks like he's back to me. Yeah, he brought the house down.
That was, I think, the play that really sort of signified it. That was hey, I'm good, guys. And the place went bonkers. I mean, the arena sounded awesome when he was sort of on that streak he was on. He looked really, really good. If he can play up to that level day in, and night out, the Cavaliers have a really good chance to make some noise in this tournament, and no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, it's all about the way that he's responding physically and mentally. And I think that Donovan's in a really good place right now. He just talked to us for about 15 minutes in the room over there talking about that. And, it's a good thing to see because, he got a little scared when you heard he was getting an injection in his knee and things weren't going the best there. And he didn't have his burst. He didn't have the same change of direction. He didn't have the same ability to get into the paint and draw fouls. I think you're going to see a little bit more of that the more that this postseason goes along. And it's not just, again, the scoring. It's the way that he's able to create for his teammates just by drawing 2-3 bodies to him, right? And then the ability as well to go to his left and pull up. He has that step back to his left and pull up from three. He did that to start the game after Max Strus started the game with a three, came right down in a transition and hit a triple. And it looked really good. And the way that he's able to kind of utilize that left side and go to his left, that's his favorite thing, man. I think I saw him go right once or twice this entire game. So, but that's what he does. That's who he is, and it's really good that this Cavs team has this version of Donovan. It appears to be a little bit more back than we thought before.
I think beyond the status of Donovan Mitchell, which is obviously a huge thing people were paying attention to coming into this game, because we know that as the Cavs go, the Cavs go as he goes. Mm-hmm. The other big narrative coming into this series was centered around how last year went against the Knicks. They threw the first punch and they never really recovered. Did you guys learn anything from that series? Are you going to prove that you're the more experienced team in this series and the script is kind of flipped here? And Spence, I'll tell you what, man, you said it to me pregame. I'm really curious to see how this first quarter goes. And you could tell in the first quarter that the Cavs were ready for the moment. It was not even close to the same team we saw last year, where maybe, to quote Jared Allen, the lights were a little bit too bright last year. They didn't look as ready. Today, they looked ready. They looked locked in. They were clearly the more physical team from the jump, and they got off to a hot start, hitting a couple threes and really set the tone. and they led wire to wire. Like I was blown away with how they came out of this game. There was a few moments where it got tight, but their ability to respond to that, and that's going to happen in basketball, I thought was fantastic. And I thought they really did throw that first punch like we were all expecting or wanting to see them do after how last season played out or last postseason played out.
Yeah, no, I had to agree there. And I think the thing that a lot of Cavs fans need to take solace in is that the guys who helped throw the first punch were Darius Garland and Evan Mobley and all those guys. I mean, did you see the way that they were just going after the ball? Everyone was a ball hawk tonight for Cleveland. The way that they were trying to wrestle the ball away from the Magic, who are a gang rebounding team. Everyone crashes for them. They absolutely killed them on the boards tonight, and that was a big point of emphasis coming into this. They still need to get better with the turnovers. That said, I mean, the Magic are just a really, really tough, long, physical team. So turnovers are going to happen. It happened to the Magic. The Cavs did it to the Magic in the first half, and then the Magic came out and did it to them in that first part of the third quarter. But for me, I think seeing the way that Evan Mobley started this game, they were getting him on switches just right on the baseline there with Cole Anthony and with Gary Harris. JB Bickerstaff deserves a lot of credit for that because he was making sets so that the guys that had to defend Evan were the smaller guys. And they continuously went at it until they made an adjustment. I was, really pleased with what I saw there. I think Jarrett Allen really set the tone again on the glass, defending the rim. The Magic were throwing, something to the wall and hoping it sticks in the first half. They started to make their threes in the second half, and that's something that happened on that end of the floor. I don't know if there's anything statistical about this or weird about this, but on the Magic bench's end of the floor, that hoop, I think going into the fourth quarter, there were 2 threes made on that hoop. And probably 20-something odd attempts. So I don't know if there was something with the rim. George Neon said that someone put a lid on it. I don't know, but that was a really an interesting anomaly to me. But at the same time, again, the way that those guys responded, the way that they closed, and like you said, whenever the Magic got it down to 5 or they got it down to 9 or whatever it was, the Cavs came roaring back, got something done, got to the line, got a big steal, whatever it had to be. They answered.
The closest moment I think came a little past midway through the third quarter, 55-50, and it was 56-60 actually.
Oh.
It was a 4-point game.
Okay.
There was a free throw that I think Paolo hit down here or down at the other end, and that sort of got it close. And then I think Donovan Mitchell, going back to him, sort of took the moment to be like, okay, I got to be the one to sort of get this ball and to get the offense kind of going again. He did. Back to the physicality real quick, because as much as we saw the Cavs kind of throw that first punch and show they were the more physical team, I thought it frustrated the Magic enough that people like Mo Wagner and others were kind of getting a little too overly physical. There was the push. I think it was down this end in the first half.
On Evan Mobley.
He pushed Evan Mobley sort of into the basket, and Isaac Okoro took exception to it. He said something to him. The refs caught it. He got teed up.
Then you had George the other way going and
literally like 90 seconds later
searching out contact on Markelle Fultz, and Fultz I don't like the call on the flagrant one, by the way, but it definitely was a foul, and that kind of, I think the referees wanted to kind of ring it back in a little bit, get control of that game.
I think it's a sign from them.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
take it down. But the good news, and not to cut you off, is that the Cavs, they played into the physicality, but they didn't exactly fall into the trap that the Magic were trying to set and really get them rattled and fall out of order, right? So that's good because you match it and you're still sticking to your game plan. You're still sticking to what you know, and again, they responded.
And that's the sign of a mature team. Somebody like George Niang, he kind of got in Fultz's face and made a point. Like the same thing Okoro did, like making sure he knew he was there. He got teed up for that. But it wasn't like over the top where they were getting in too much trouble. And I think, again, they established dominance and established that they were not going to just back down from anything. And I think that set the tone not only in game one, but for the rest of the series. You mentioned Evan Mobley. He hit 2 quick threes early on. Really, there was a barrage of threes to kind of start the game. Donovan Mitchell had 2. Mobley had 2. Max Strus actually hit the first 3 of the game to start the first points of the game. And then he kind of had a quiet night quiet afternoon the rest of the way. But still a good effort from him. I thought the way they used Mobley was awesome. I thought the way that they did get him those open looks early was huge because, Spence, we've been talking about all season, like how how effective did Evan Mobley have to be, especially down the stretch of the season, to become a threat where some team in the playoffs were gonna take him seriously? And I think by hitting those 2 threes early, he's already established for the series, like, hey, I'm going to take him when I'm out here. You're going to have to put somebody on me, can't be smaller than me, and you're going to have to really respect me from out here. I think that was another good tone-setting aspect of this game, and it happened early on.
Yeah, and you don't have to completely close out on him like like a guy like Max Strus or a Sam Merrill or something like that, but you have to be aware. Yeah. And if you have to be aware, that means you're a step or two closer to the perimeter. And when you're a step or two closer to the perimeter, what does that mean for guys like Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell? That means you can get cut to the basket, you can start driving to the basket, dribble, penetrate, kick out, and that makes a world of difference. Just by hitting, 34, 35% from deep, that makes a huge difference for what Evan Mobley can bring to this team on that, in that specific realm. And that's huge. That's huge for this team, and he's done a good job since he's come back from that ankle injury of expanding his game a little bit, and it's worked.
Yeah, just to sort of recap some numbers here for you. Mobley had 16 and 11 rebounds tonight. Jared Allen had a double-double. He's a double-double machine all year. He had 16 and 18 rebounds, and Darius Garland had 14 points, 8 assists. He kind of took that backseat role to Mitchell today.
I liked what DG did today, though, because here's the thing: he had a few bad turnovers, but his turnovers, he had 4, I think. Donovan had 4, and Strus had 5. None of those were in the fourth quarter, so that's good. But what I liked about Darius today was his defensive effort, I think, up top. And the way that he, again, was kind of being a ball hawk. He was really trying to wrestle the ball away from Orlando when they were trying to get those rebounds. And I think he was making some really good decisions in the half court and getting the ball to his guys. I think he finished with 8 or 9 assists and did a good job of that. Max Strus, I told you, I tweeted this out, that he didn't have the best game. He was kind of off with his timing on passes and whatnot.
He had 7 rebounds, though, right?
No, he had 9. He had 9 boards. And the thing about those boards, though, is and tracking down loose balls, whatever, he keeps plays alive. Yeah. And he plays very smart.
Niang was plus 13 despite
1 of 7.
Yeah, he was 1 of 7 from the floor, and he was plus 13.
He was bodying up on Paolo, by the way. He was bodying up on Paolo.
And Paolo, he finished as the leading scorer for the Magic at 24 points, but it was kind of like a sloppy 24 points. It took him. It was tough for him to get there. Yeah. And I think that's just kind of like young player first playoffs. But going back to the Cavs, though, the guys that you paid to join this team, the veteran presence, the Niangs, the Struses, they didn't stand out necessarily from a scoring standpoint tonight, but you felt their impact, and that's what you got them for. On this stage, they're going to deliver for you in some capacity, and they did that even though they weren't impacting the game in terms of the scoring. And I thought that was obviously a massive part of today's game as well.
Yeah, you can't be stat merchants with these guys. They clearly made an impact. George really, especially with the energy and the way that he was able to kind of bring that energy towards the end of the first quarter and set a tone like we were talking about all week. We're here. That's exactly what the message they wanted to send. He's already moved on. He was talking post game about the Wagner scuffle and whatnot, and he's like, look, that wasn't any more physicality than I expected at all. If anything, I expected more, and we're already moving on to game 2 and what we need to do. So that's the attitude, and again, you bring it up. That's the kind of maturity they kind of bring in too, to help foster, guys like Garland and Mobley and Jared Allen and Isaac Okoro. That's another big part of what they bring to this team, even off the court and in the locker room. So that's big on their part. And, it was a football game. There's a football game out there. Guys, it took 2 hours and 35 minutes to play this game.
That was a long game.
That is a long basketball game. Because that first half took over an hour. So, a
lot of stoppage. And to your point on turning the page, that was a message throughout I think the press conferences we heard. You were in the locker room and got to talk to those guys. We were both sort of in the press room hearing from them. The same similar sort of messaging of, listen, we're already thinking about game 2. We got to get to game 2. Donovan Mitchell even said he wasn't going to go get his Mitchell's ice cream until after the series was over. So he's even waiting before he celebrates just a game 1 win. Yep. And I think, again, that's that maturity factor that this team maybe didn't have last year. Talking about turning the page to game 2, the last kind of thoughts on this as we kind of put the kibosh on game 1 here. what adjustments are you maybe expecting to see from the Magic? What do they really have up their sleeve? Because I do think they tried to throw everything but the kitchen sink at the Cavs today, and the Cavs had a lot of good answers, and they were able to kind of weather the storm despite this was an interesting thing, too, the fact that Cleveland, they hit their first 5 threes. They were 100% for three in the first, 4 minutes or whatever. And then they didn't. They missed 18 straight and didn't hit another one until the start of the fourth quarter, and they still won by 14 points. Like they shot 26% from three. Yeah. That's not going to be the case for the rest of the series, I would imagine. Like it's the law of averages thing, right? So, what are you anticipating the Magic kind of throw back, and how do you kind of anticipate the Cavs now move forward as they get ready for Game 2 as well?
I think they need to search out mismatches. To be honest, like with Franz Wagner trying to get guys like a guy like Garland on him, just smaller guy to try and get a little bit of more of an easy looks. Same with Paolo Banchero. If you can just kind of create this, kind of what the Cavs did, honestly. I think that's what the Magic should try to do. Yeah. I mean, Evan Mobley had the ball on the baseline against Smalls 4 or 5 minutes straight, and that really, kind of set the tone for him. So I don't see why you wouldn't try that on that. Defensively, I think we're going to see a little bit more Jonathan Isaac on Donovan Mitchell, maybe to try and make other guys beat him. But there's the adjustment for Orlando, and this is going to be tough because this is almost like flip side of last year's series with the Cavs and the Knicks. Are you going to beat them with the three if they leave you open? Because the Cavs were sinking in. The Cavs were sinking in, and a lot of the threes that they had were good looks that the Orlando had. Jalen Suggs, I don't know what his percentage was. Couldn't be good. Gary Harris, not good. Cole Anthony.
Jalen Suggs only hit 1 of 7.
Yeah, Cole Anthony off the bench. I think he went 0 So that's the adjustment, I guess you could call it. It's a make or miss league, right? That's what it is. And then for the Cavs side, just stop turning the ball over after you create turnovers. Don't turn it back over to them after you turn them over.
There was that one sequence in the first half where it was, I think, maybe it was a turnover by the Magic, and then Mitchell tried to throw the pass up, and it got turned over, kicked off the Orlando player, to Strus, who picked it up and then laid it in. It was the weirdest transition bucket I've ever seen. Yeah, that's a good point. Obviously, turnovers have been sort of a bugaboo for this team throughout the year, but if you can calm those down and lessen them.
Aggressive turnovers are good, but some of those ones that you do after you get a steal and you're trying to flip it up, or for example, at the end of the game, you're trying an alley-oop and with a minute left and it's still a 12-point game. Don't do that. Don't do that.
That's your advice from Spencer. We appreciate it. It's on now. Cavaliers with a 1-0 series lead. Game 2 coming down the pike, obviously, on Monday. We expect a better 3-point shooting performance, I would imagine.
You expect that.
Orlando's good, though. Orlando's defense is good.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's going to be very similar to this game. I think Game 2 is going to be very similar to this. I think the Cavs will come out on top again, just because of home court advantage and just the energy of the crowd. The whiteout was great with all the towels in the air. And,
I thought Donovan Mitchell had a pretty cool anecdote just about that and how he still feels like a kid sort of at heart. And when he's out here, those when the crowd goes nuts and he had that big dunk and everyone's going crazy and he's screaming, he lives for that type of stuff. So he said he tries to kind of keep it center focused, but he has he definitely takes it all in. So Cavs fans, he heard you. Yeah. He heard your cheering, he heard your support, and obviously he appreciated it. Hopefully they can replicate that on Monday.
One more note on Game 2. Paolo Banchero had 9 turnovers in his first career playoff game. Gonna expect him to be a little bit more judicious about the way that he attacks. So maybe that's another adjustment for Orlando that just came up in my head. Just he was getting to the middle of the floor a lot, but the Cavs, they're so active with their hands.
Yeah. So both teams are.
So 100%. that's going to get the ball rolling and going the other way for transition.
You mentioned Paolo, and that's maybe a good place to end this as well for everybody watching. But I couldn't help but feel like role reversal from last year. Like Cavs looked like the shell shock team, and they weren't ready for the moment. And today it looked like they were 100% ready. And Orlando was the team that's, again, and it's what we talked about before the series started, right? Like just the playoff experience between the two teams. And it felt like there was a role reversal there where they were the ones kind of dishing out the punishment, and Orlando just kind of had to live with it. And we'll see if they're able to respond now in Game 2.
Take away Joe Ingles and Gary Harris. I don't know how many career playoff games that Orlando's played.
Yeah. Well, 1 now. But
yeah.
Well, if hopefully Cavs fans enjoyed this one, it was obviously a massive win. And like I said, I think they sort of gave you what you were looking for. If you were a little bit worried about last year and the hangover from the Knicks series, they sort of put a lot of that to bed. So Game 2 Monday, we'll obviously have plenty of coverage for you over at CavsInsider.com, and you can keep on following along with more content like this on the Cavs Insider YouTube page. We'll be back. Spencer, well, I'll just say Spencer Square. Spencer Square will be back. We'll be back Monday with another recap video for you. Until then, take care.